This is Genesis Part 1, one of the most unique ARK maps in all of ARK. You see, this isn't your normal map, this is a giant simulation and you are the test subject inside the Genesis colony ship. The goal? Survive the brutal test that the Master Controller is sending you through, a test that will ultimately end in his defeat. When you first spawn in, you will notice the spawn screen with 5 zones, which isn't a lot compared to the other ARK maps. There are Bog, which is easy, Arctic, which is medium, Lunar, which is very hard, Ocean, which is hard, and Volcanic, which is very hard. So yeah, not a lot to choose from, and it's all pretty much just difficult. So let's go ahead and talk about the main 5 zones in depth so you know exactly what to expect for each one. This is the ocean, a big region that consists of, well, a big ocean. There are small islands scattered all around the area, but 90% of this region is just mainly ocean and very deep at that. Starting here is possible, but you will most likely be in the water, which will annoy you very quickly. So if the water doesn't get you, the eels, piranhas, mantas, and sharks will, since you know, it's ARK. Then we have the bog. The bog is a more tame region and consists of a massive swamp. If you know ARK, you know that for the most part you always stay away from swamps, but the fact that this is the easiest zone says a lot about this map. Now this swamp isn't as bad as the usual swamp, it's a little bit more forgiving, but even then, it still kind of isn't. Here you are able to traverse the environment with a decent amount of threats. You will find tall trees, which I highly do not recommend going near early on, lots of little islands scattered around, and some abandoned structures just randomly placed. It's a very muted environment, but that's what makes it more interesting. And then we have the Arctic. The Arctic takes things a step up from the bog. This opens you up to a fully snowy environment where there is a central mountain surrounded by a lot of trees and a good amount of hostiles. Not to mention, it's stupidly cold here. If you do not have proper armor right away, you will never make it in this biome. Between snowstorms and cold weather, you will not last long. And then we have the volcano. The volcano is another fun environment and basically is the polar opposite. This area is made up entirely of lava and black rocks everywhere. There is a main central volcano in the middle, and this is basically a guaranteed death if you get too close. You can shockingly survive longer here than in the Arctic, but there are still a lot of hostiles to deal with. And then we have the lunar, which is the hardest zone on this map. The lunar may look very beautiful at first, but don't let that fool you. The lunar is going to frustrate you at a level that you didn't think was possible. If you are still alive after 30 seconds, good job, you managed to do the impossible. The lunar pretty much consists of every tech dino possible, all which will aggro onto you instantly. This is not a good first starting zone. Either way, now you know what you're getting yourself into with Genesis. It's a map that's really going to challenge you, but somehow that makes it more enjoyable. Are you a lonely loser who sits in his mom's basement and paid $15 for this DLC but have no good server to play on? Well, you're in luck because TBS exists. TBS is a massive ARK cluster with both PvP and PvE servers. PvP is a 4-man 20x rate system, but it has options where you can play solo and still survive balance with the bigger tribes. It has full ORP with 48-hour timers, 50 custom caves, raid bases, world boss events, a full battle pass system, custom loot, and full cross-platform with PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam. The best part is that you can literally get paid to play the server with a huge cash prize with no server wipes. PvE is a bit different with 10x rates, the same battle pass and world boss system, raid bases on PvE, new creatures, new loot, and the same no wipe system. If you're like me and are sick of playing official due to the lack of proper customer care support whenever you get meshed, then TBS is perfect for you. Join TBS today with these brand new servers and save 10% off in their shop with code Outcasts at checkout. Just search tbs.com in the server list on unofficial or join their Discord with the link in my description. The map overall stayed the same, but there is one area which changed and is shockingly easy to get started in, being the ocean region. The ocean has a lot of islands, but 3 good starter locations are as follows. The first is 28.2 latitude and 59.9 longitude. This island isn't too big and is perfect for a smaller tribe looking to get a good start. There is a decently sized structure where you can set up, and plenty of room for dinos and eventually a dock and ships. The second location that stood out to me was at 19.6 latitude and 65.1 longitude. This is a big step up from the last, having a massive structure here. The structure takes up the majority of the island, but honestly, it's pretty impressive. This is definitely for a bigger tribe or somebody looking to build a lot. The devs almost want you to build a fortress type of base here with the giant pillars surrounding a central castle and then on top of that hill. The third and last good location can be found at 88.8 latitude and 87.2 longitude. This island is the perfect mix between a massive central hub area to build your base or markets, as well as a dock area in the back where you can place a shipyard to build your ships. It also has a decent amount of land to pair with this as well. Overall, there really isn't many islands in the ocean area, but the ones that are there actually really stand out a lot. The other locations on Genesis haven't really changed, so I'll just kind of give you a good base location for each zone. These are all based around PvE, as PvP locations on this map are kinda not the best other than in the lunar, of course. The first can be found at 75.0 latitude and 81.8 longitude in the bog. This can be found higher up in the trees and is the biggest and flattest platform. If you aren't satisfied with this location, there are a few more platforms right next to it, and they can all be accessed by a Bloodstalker. Over in the Arctic at 83.2 latitude and 46.1 longitude, you have the giant ice pillar. There are a good amount of these pillars, but this one stands out the most as it is the biggest. Honestly, you can live here for both PvE and PvP. It's such a cold area that anybody who tries to raid this location is not going to have a fun time. This area is overall pretty flat and you can easily access nearby resources. Just know it's not comfortable since it's so cold after all. Over in the volcano is a complete death trap in every corner, and surviving here is not going to be fun. Shockingly, ARK left a really good base location here at 41.0 latitude and 70.3 longitude. Now this isn't a massive location, but you can easily build a decent sized base here without worrying about the dinos hitting you, and you are pretty close to a lot of rich resource nodes. For some reason, I feel like ARK just kinda copy and pasted this whole area. Lastly, over in the lunar at 20.0 latitude and 32.5 longitude, we have Big Lunar. Everybody who has played Genesis knows this cave, and it's by far the best PvP and PvE cave in this region. The lunar is packed with great caves to live in, and this is the biggest one. It has one central entrance and a very long hallway, making raiding difficult. Living here PvE is a pretty bold choice though, since you have to deal with the lunar sun constantly. Genesis isn't your standard map. This map does away with the idea of regular Explorer Notes. For those who don't know, Explorer Notes are little journals that you can find all around ARK that tell you little tips or facts. They can teach you about a new creature that you'll come across or about a certain area of the map. These are all entries made by Helena for the most part, explaining what she is seeing or learning about as she explores the ARKs. But with Genesis, this is a little bit different. Helena isn't entirely present here, so instead we have these anomalies known as glitches. Glitches are basically an error within the map that aren't really supposed to be there. When you walk up to one, it will guide you to hit a specific button, that being E on PC. Once fixed, these glitches will give you hexagons and a little sidekick will speak them to you, which is HLNA. HLNA is your personal assistant. She is Helena, but just in robot form given to you to help you traverse the map. When you discover more of the glitches, she will speak them all to you, kind of like a story time. Now you can ignore these, it's not entirely mandatory to keep moving forward, but if you want to learn more about the ARK lore or just what's going on overall, I'd listen to them. HLNA isn't just used for these glitches, she's used for a few of the most important tasks on this map. The first notable thing is that she is by your side 24/7. You can disable her, which I tend to do a lot, but you will need her for things like teleporting. Teleporting is the main system for getting from biome to biome. To do this, you will need to look at her and then hold E to open up the radio wheel. Then go to Biome Teleportation, where you can choose from 5 different biomes as well as specific areas that you want to teleport to. Each area has 8 locations that you can go to, being south, north, east, and west, as well as the other ones in between. The part that a lot of players don't enjoy is that it creates a massive bubble around you to notify anyone nearby that you are teleporting. This is the same system used for boss fight teleporting, and on PvP servers, it's not that fun to deal with. HLNA has a few other options that you can use her for. The other hidden thing that she can do is give you hints. When you're near an area of interest, HLNA will turn her body and follow that point of interest, trying to kinda guide you there almost. She will also randomly make little remarks as you explore. One of the other options that she has is her main settings. This is where you can adjust how frequently that you want her visible, making it so that she's not by your side all the time until you want her there, as well as options to show mission boundaries and set how often that she talks. If you don't know, there are these things called missions, and the boundaries around them means that you cannot build in them, so this does help a lot to show you, how close that you are to one of them. And then she has the 2 other options, which the first one is Activate Protocol, which I will cover more on that in a little bit. And then you have Exchange Hexagons. Now you may be wondering, what exactly is a hexagon and how do you earn them? Well, hexagons are the main currency of Genesis and are earned from these things called missions. Missions are the system used to progress through Genesis. If you do not complete these missions, you cannot reach endgame. Missions can be found in two different ways. The first and easiest way is by opening up your inventory and going to the mission list. This shows you every mission on the map. Depending on what biome that you're in, it will filter to the main missions for that zone. For example, if you are in the lunar, it will only show you those lunar missions. The second way to find missions is by coming across them naturally, which is a lot more fun in my opinion. The mission list is kind of just like a little cheat sheet. Each one of these missions is very different. You won't find two missions that are the same. These missions also have 3 different tiers just like boss fights, being Gamma, Beta, and Alpha, with Alpha being the hardest of course. Now completing the missions will reward you with better items, resources, and blueprints, as well as these hexagons. When you click a mission, it will show you an overview tab where you can find the requirements as well as the reward. You can track the mission in the top right, as well as start it if you are near it. One very important thing to note is that if you are playing on a multiplayer map, other players can do these missions, so if somebody is already in the middle of doing one, you cannot do it at the same time. Another very important thing to know is that these missions happen in real time, meaning that for PvP players, other people will still be able to kill you, so be careful when doing them. After a mission is complete, it will add it to your progress toward being able to do the final boss. Now I've been talking a lot about these things called hexagons, but haven't really explained what they are for. Hexagons, like I said before, are the main currency for Genesis. This is how you buy pretty much everything in the game. There is no payment system to purchase these with real money, which is good. These hexagons can be exchanged in something called the Hexagon Shop. The Hexagon Shop can be accessed through HLNA by hitting Exchange Hexagons in our menu. When it opens, it instantly overwhelms you with this massive selection. This is where you can purchase resources from basic wood and stone to metal and even elements. There is one very important thing that you can purchase: loot crates. These loot crates come in different tiers and are a little bit randomized. For example, they can give you structures, beds, crafters like an indie forge, and even saddles and weapons that are pretty decent. The main use for the Hexagon Shop is honestly just for buying a ton of resources. Since Genesis is a very interesting map, some resources are easy to farm while others are not as common, and the shop makes it pretty easy to get them. When you purchase an item, you will also get another tab where you can select specific amounts. So instead of having to spam the purchase button over and over, you can adjust the quantity up. It will also show you what your weight will be if you buy all the items that you want to make sure that you don't encumber yourself, as well as your current hexagons and what they will be after the purchase. It's a very neat and easy system to use. It may sound kinda useless for some items now, but just wait, you'll see how helpful that this shop actually will be later on. Genesis, not even 24 hours after release, already had a brand new resource map to find all of the richest farming areas. This is Wiggly, which isn't a sponsor but is a pretty incredible tool. They have always been the fastest source for getting this kind of info, and it shows every major resource and where to find them down to their exact coordinate. Now I won't sit here and show every single main area because there is quite a bit, but if you want to see it for yourself, go to wiggly.gg and search the new Genesis Ascended map. Traveling on foot around Genesis is pretty much impossible. The ocean is all about swimming, the bog is infested with wildlife, the Arctic is full of hostiles, and the volcano and lunar I don't even need to explain. So you will definitely need some starter dinos to kind of get yourself going. The first and best dino that you can get is the Bloodstalker. These can be found over in the bog hiding in these massive trees. You can get one as early as level 7 and all you need to make is a blood extraction kit and some blood bags. The Bloodstalker will naturally grab you and then you can passive tame it with the blood bags to keep healing it. The Bloodstalker can swing from trees, jump far distances, walk on water, turn itself into a parachute, and it takes no fall damage. It is quite literally the perfect creature for this map. Some of the other decent starter dinos include the Itchy for the ocean. Everybody knows what this guy is, but he's a dolphin that swims pretty fast overall and is very easy to tame, as it's another passive tame with raw meat. Its saddle can be unlocked at level 13 and is very simple, but that's more just for the ocean. A good land creature that you can get is the Terror Bird. This is a fan favorite of mine and can be found all over the map. The Terror Bird is not only a fast and agile land dino, but is also small and can easily squeeze through tight spaces. Its best ability is that it can glide far distances and take no fall damage while gliding. You can get one of these at around level 33. There are plenty of other options to choose from, but these are, in my opinion, the best options since Genesis does not allow flyers. The Paleo Octopus is one of the brand new creatures that comes with Genesis and Tides of Fortune. It can be found all over the ocean swimming around, but they can be hard to spot sometimes. Now the Paleo is technically not a paid dino, meaning that if you do not have Tides of Fortune, you can still tame this guy. The Paleo can be tamed in a very unique way. You have to wait until it decides to become aggressive with you and eventually grabs you with its arm. It will then suffocate you and slowly drain your health, so make sure that you bring med brews. You will also need some form of narcotic in your last hotbar slot. I recommend either narcotics or just biotoxin. When the Paleo picks you up, wait until you get near its beak and then it makes a sound effect. Then feed it one narcotic and repeat this over and over until it does knock out. Now once knocked out, it does prefer black pearls just like the Tuso. However, ARK is currently bugged right now and this guy does not like to tame with black pearls for some reason, so you may lose effectiveness by having to tame it with meat. The saddle can be unlocked at level 65 and costs 150 fiber, 50 metal ingots, 20 chitin, 275 hide, and 75 wood. The Paleo has some unique abilities like the swipe and slam attack with its left and right click, which works with both of its front arms. You can also grab and hold enemies by holding left or right click depending on the arm, suffocate them with R, and throw them by holding spacebar. For movement, you have a pressure pulse which deals damage to anything around you, and super swim which shoots you at rapid speeds with spacebar. Its last abilities are wall climbing with spacebar and a camouflage ability to blend into the surrounding environment. The coolest part about these guys is that they can climb ships and sneak attack players, making it one of the most exciting new creatures on ARK. The Tide Pup is another brand new creature that came with Genesis and is by far the cutest creature on ARK. They can be found around the ocean region as small babies. To tame one, you will need to injure a creature of your choosing and get its health under 10%. When the Tide Pup detects that it's low, it will put the creature into a slumber, and then you will be able to feed it kibble to tame it. It will need regular kibble and is overall really simple. Once tamed, you can keep it as a shoulder pet or you can transform it into a rideable tame. To do this, have it on your shoulder and take damage over time, whether from dinos or just having a friend shoot you repeatedly. When you get down to a certain health level, the Tide Pup will gain progress in the evolve meter in its radio wheel. When this hits 100%, you can then evolve it into a fully grown Tide Pup that you can ride, but just know it is very time consuming to do. Once fully transformed, the saddle can be unlocked at level 36 and costs 50 fiber, 10 ingots, 5 cementing paste, 80 hide, and 20 wood. The pup walks very slow on land but swims very fast in the water. It has a basic melee attack, a regenerative reversal ability, and a regenerative stasis which heals nearby creatures depending on which direction that you are facing. It also has a healing zone similar to a Deodon that drains the food stat. You can toggle life sense to detect nearby injured creatures that need healing, and it can also lunge forward a good distance. Overall, it's a solid creature but is a bit confusing to learn at first. The Parrot is the last brand new creature with Genesis and is very useful. They can be found randomly around the islands and are tamed by emoting to grab their attention until they land on your shoulder. Once you do, you will need to hunt for treasure chests, kill alphas, or just find loot crates, which I still can't really seem to even find one of, to be honest. You have quite a bit of time to tame one of these guys, so don't rush it as you have that timer in the bottom corner, but it is still a very time consuming creature to get. Once you complete enough of those tasks, it will tame and then you have yourself a parrot. Just know that finding treasure takes a long time and can be very far from your location, while alphas are more common since they spawn on almost every island. Genesis came with a lot of unique creatures back on ASC, like the Bloodstalker, which I just kind of mentioned earlier. The Bloodstalker is a giant spider-like alien creature found in the bog. All you have to do is go near the massive trees that reach up into the clouds, just don't mistake them for the smaller trees around the area. When you find a Bloodstalker, you will definitely know it, as it's going to pull you in and try to kill you, but that's actually the taming process. If you have blood bags on you, let it grab you and reel you in. You can also shoot them off the tree, which will let them tame on the ground so that you don't have to worry about fall damage, but that's kind of up to you. All you have to do is just let the Bloodstalker hold you and wait until it's tamed. However, just make sure that you bring enough blood bags, because the higher the level, the harder that it's going to be to tame. Once tamed, they can swing from trees, jump long distances, and act as a parachute. For the full abilities, I'll have another video explaining them in detail. The Magmasaur is another great dino that Genesis brings. You can find these in the volcano region all over the place. The Magmasaur isn't a standard tame or even a passive tame. It can strictly be raised, meaning that you have to go steal one of their eggs. The main location to find eggs is in the central volcano cave where you can find the massive nest. If you can manage to get in here and take an egg without dying, Good job, because it's not easy. The only notable way of doing this is kind of with a Bloodstalker. Now there are a few other areas where you can find these eggs which are outside of the volcano, but they're not as common. You can hatch the Magmasaur back at your base with AC units and it won't eat regular food. The Magmasaur eats something called ambergris, which can be obtained from these rocks over in the lunar biome. Now I recommend farming a lot of this stuff, as Magmasaurs eat a pretty good amount to raise, and it will be used later on whenever we get to some of the other creatures. The Magmasaur is your main farmer for things like metal and is also great at destroying metal. The Megachelon is the ocean's main tameable dino. These can be found near the surface and aren't the easiest to get. To tame one, you will need to lead fish swarms over to it. These swarms will naturally aggro onto you, and once they detect that Megachelon, they will actually start the tame process. Now this goes up very slowly and is very time consuming, but you just need to keep any threats away from the Megachelon at all times. If it gets hit even once, it will reset the entire tame process. Now this could be megalodons, eels, piranhas, as well as even saber-toothed salmon and other random fish that will all aggro. If you can keep killing them as it tames, you will eventually get it. It's very important to note that you cannot be mounted when you first begin the tame process or it will not register, and you cannot go too far from the Megachelon or else it will reset the progress and the fish school will actually despawn, forcing you to go find another one, and that is pretty frustrating, I'll just tell you that. It's a very involved yet easy tame as long as you constantly kill the enemies around you. Once tamed, the Megachelon can be used as a portable base since you can build on it and supplies you with infinite oxygen when you are above it. The Ferox is the main dino for the Arctic. This is a cute and friendly looking creature who looks very nice, but this is ARK after all. So yeah, they can be found randomly near the mountain as well as in the main Ferox cave. To tame one, you will need a good amount of element. Once you have it, find one and let it walk up to you, then hit E to begin the tame process. Now this cute, cuddly creature will then transform into a terrifying beast, and you will need to move away from it and wait for it to return to its smaller stage. Then just keep repeating this process until it's tamed. It's not really a hard tame, but it's a bit time consuming, and honestly just use grapples to kind of get away from it. Once tamed, it can attack very quickly and even shred metal armor. The Astracetus is the main creature for the lunar. It's very easy to spot since it's a massive space whale. This creature can be found all over the lunar, just make sure to look up as sometimes it likes to fly a decent distance above all the asteroids. Taming the Astracetus is not really too difficult, but at the same time it's not awful. It's very similar to taming a rock golem, just with a bit of a twist. Instead of cannons, you need to shoot it with this thing called a MSCM, the attachment that goes on the mech's back. This gun can shoot projectiles that inflict torpor on the Astracetus and will actually knock it out over time. Now this is the first dino that requires a special mech from another map, which is pretty interesting for ARK to do. You can either get the Astracetus trapped and then keep shooting it, or just freeball it and hope that you hit every shot. Now for the most part, sometimes they get knocked out with one shot and sometimes it will take a few more. Also keep in mind to aim for its head for the most torpor effectiveness. Once tamed, it has a tail whip attack as well as a saddle with 3 different types of turrets and a bomb bay system. Now X creatures aren't fully a new dino with Genesis, but a new variant of creature that you can obtain. Some other ARK maps like Aberration introduce this style. These are mutated types based around the map. X creatures work the same way and give off unique colorations. The coolest part about these types is that they change depending on the environment that they're in. For example, the snow X creatures have a white adaptation on their fur or skin to match the environment, similar to the creatures in real life. The volcano X creatures, in my opinion, are the best looking ones, having a lava glow on their skin. These creatures aren't just for show, they have a 5% damage boost and a 3% health decrease, which almost kind of cancels itself out, but it is a big difference when you get a good one and mutate it properly. When X creatures are wild, they will have a 250% damage increase and a 60% damage resistance buff, so be careful when fighting them. But they are still very much worth taming. One noticeable difference with these creatures is that they naturally have 88 levels after taming compared to the normal 73 that you will find on regular dinos. Now, new creatures aren't the only thing that Genesis brings. This is Tides of Fortune. Genesis also brings Tides of Fortune, which has a fair bit of brand new items all themed around pirates. A lot of these items aren't just for cosmetic, they really do change how ARK will be played moving forward. The shovel is used for digging up treasure. When paired with a parrot, finding treasure is pretty straightforward. You can also use it to find water sprouts, which give you temporary water, as well as till crops, which increases their growth speed by 30%. The cargo ledger is by far the most important thing with this update, as it's a new polling system. The ledger automatically pulls from any nearby crafter, storage, or even dino inventory and displays it all in one place. It doesn't remove items from those storage areas, but instead shows you everything, allowing you to pull from anything that you want to then craft items. The aquarium is more on the PvE side and is a tank that you can customize. You can customize it surprisingly well and even place fish and smaller dinos inside. The hand cannon is the new handheld firearm, similar to a shotgun in a way. It doesn't shoot very far, but deals a lot of damage in close combat. It is paired with Grape Shot as its main ammo. It's a cool and unique new weapon, but isn't really the strongest option for combat overall, unless you're just on the PvE side. The Bounty Board is a board of tasks and quests that you can complete. These will range from killing dinos to finding treasure and potentially more in the future. It updates every 7 days, but from what I've seen, it can update faster depending on how quickly that you complete some of the tasks. When you complete them, you will earn hexagons to use in the shop. The market is arguably the best new PvE item with its release. This gives you a fully functional market where you can list your items for sale. When players from other tribes visit, they can purchase your items using hexagons as a currency. You can also access the main hexagon shop through here instead of talking through HLNA. The shipyard is another very important crafter that you will 100% need. This is the main structure used for building ships. As of right now, you can only craft the sloop and the brigantine, as the galleon was temporarily removed due to issues. But when the galleon gets added back, you will hopefully be able to customize and build it piece by piece instead of all at once. The sloop is the smaller starter ship for you to craft. Despite it being the starter option, it's still a very capable ship and can hold a full tribe on it. The sloop has one main below deck area, a full cabin, and some decent sized sails. It's reasonably fast and it has cannons all around it to fire. Honestly, I do prefer the sloop for getting near land without getting stuck. Also, just a heads up, don't get too close to land or rocks, as the game will bug out and you will literally beat your ship and you cannot get back out. The brigantine is the larger ship option. This is a massive upgrade from the sloop and has 3 main below decks, a bigger cabin, and much larger sails. Overall, it's pretty fast and is much more durable when taking hits. The brigantine is great for long distance travel as well. It's also important to know that you can build on both of these ships. You can't build a massive base on them, but you can add crafters like a smithy and some forges for crafting on the go. The ammo box is finally back, but arrived a map too early. This was supposed to release with Genesis 2, but for some reason we have it here. With the pirate ship system though, it kinda does make sense. The ammo box is a system used to automatically refill turrets, or in this case, cannons. It can be linked to anything in its range and you can modify how often that it refills. It also has a display showing what ammo that it contains when you look at it. The TOF lights are the new main light for Tides of Fortune. Every release has had a unique light like this, and this one is just purely cosmetic. It does look good with the Kraken style to it, but again, it's just for show. With the new ships, you also have 3 new types of cannonballs. The corrosive cannonball adds an acidic attack on a hit, which slowly deals extra damage over time. The incendiary cannonball fires flaming rounds that deal damage spreading for a short time, and the reinforced cannonball hits harder than regular cannonballs, dealing increased damage to ships. Lastly, we have the aquatic compartment, which is a larger version of the aquarium designed for full-size creatures. This allows you to store any size water dino on land in this tank. It acts as a pressurized water compartment and you can connect more of them together to build a larger water tank. Now, Tides of Fortune doesn't give us massive numbers of brand new items, but overall, what's here is still a great addition. Something to pair with all these new items is the new wave system. Genesis rebuilt the wave system from the ground up. Now I really expected Wildcard to just copy and paste this from Atlas, but this is an entirely new system. You can clearly see how detailed that the ocean is and how it forms around ships and rafts. When it is calm out in the ocean, not much is going to move, but when the weather gets stormy, it gets very rough, and the waves will actually start to crash a lot more. The new wave system functions very well, but I really wish that we got something like a giant kraken to fight. This map could have really had so much more potential with the ocean here, but even though ARK didn't add all that, there still is a brand new NPC mission system to do. These are called outposts or pirate outposts. They can be found all over the ocean and come in many different types. These are procedural islands that will change locations over time and are actually pretty fun to do. They are usually surrounded by ships and have many different waves. First, you will need to take out the outer ships and work your way up to the center of the islands. They are all different but will ultimately end in defeating a main boss to get good loot and hexagons. I'll be making a separate video going over all this in full detail as there is a lot to cover here, but just know that they are decently challenging to do. While Tides of Fortune and Genesis didn't bring us any new armor, it did bring us a few brand new skins to place on your existing pieces, like the Urban Bob skin which represents the main character. You get to play as a different looking Bob which does look good but also looks a little bit off, almost kinda like it's missing something. You also have the Scurvy Pirate skin set which makes you look like a pirate. If you want something a bit fancier, you also have the Fancy Pirate skin set as a different option, as well as the Sword skin which gives your sword a more pirate style look. There's also a new structure skin which can be placed on any of your structures to make them match the map better, as well as a TOF hammock skin which reskins your bed as a hammock. There are also some extra skins which will unlock over time as you complete certain milestones. All of these skins can be found in the Apply Cosmetics tab on your right side of your inventory. Tides of Fortune also brings a brand new skill tree system, which isn't as overpowered as the Lost Colony one. This adds 30 new skills for you to unlock. Now I've looked at a good amount of these and honestly they aren't that bad at all. The major ones that you can unlock are Sea Mines, which places mines behind your ship as you travel, a Boarding Party, which will give your allies 25% damage and a plus 100 stamina, and then you have Harvesting Lines, which will shoot out lines to gather resources from other ships. You also have Summon Ghostfish, which summons a ghost angler giving you a temporary rideable tame with full oxygen. The other two main ones are Ghostly Wind, which gives your ship a 75% movement speed buff and 50% more ramming damage, as well as Wet Dock, which will regenerate your ship slowly by 0%. I don't know if there was a typo or something, but that's kind of funny. Genesis 1 adds 15 new items outside of Tides of Fortune. The fish net is a massive net used to catch a surplus of fish. All you have to do is just sit by the water, and then you can cast it over a good amount of fish. The pressure plate is used to trigger events based on whether somebody steps on it. This is used for trap bases, as well as being paired with things like keypads to open up doors. The wood and metal ocean platforms are massive platforms that sit on the ocean. They can be used to build bases on and can survive some decent hits. They can't be moved, but they have ladders to climb up, as well as areas to connect things to them, allowing you to make a pretty big dino pen if you want to. We then have the Megachelon platform saddle, which is used to build platforms on the Megachelon. This also gives it 6 additional seats for players to sit on. Next is the Tech Jump Pad, which is a pad that will launch you or your dino into a specific direction that you have it facing. This can be manipulated to change directions, and you can build things like an elevator or use it for base defense. The most important item on this list is the mining drill. This is used for mining everything from wood and thatch to metal, element shards, oil, and more. It's powered with gasoline and instantly harvests anything that you are looking at with the click of a button. This also reduces all of your resources weight by 75% in your inventory when holding it. We then have the Magmasaur saddle, which builds a small cage over the rider to protect them from things like being shot at. Genesis also adds some very unique tech weapons and items outside of Tides of Fortune, beginning with the Tech Astrocetus saddle. I already went over this slightly, but it adds 3 turrets as well as a bomb bay system to drop bombs onto bases or enemies. We then have the Cruise Missile. This is used to fire tech projectiles like a rocket, but the difference is that it has a camera on it, which then allows you to control precisely where you want the rocket to go and explode. It's actually a pretty cool one. The Tech Shoulder Cannon is essentially a tech turret that sits on your shoulder. However, it shoots a lot slower and doesn't do as much damage. This can be turned on and off and can be modified to shoot at certain targets. It mainly shoots wildlife, but it is really good for just tagging nearby players who may be trying to sneak up on you. The Tech Claws are a close combat melee weapon used to attack very quickly and destroy metal armor. They can also be used to block incoming damage. The Tech Grenade Launcher is a very useful launcher used to fire any grenade in the game, rapid fire style, at whatever you want. It can instantly cycle between different types of grenades and shoot them way further than just throwing them by hand. The cool thing about these grenades is that they don't detonate on a timer like usual. Instead, they explode on impact, making it a much better system. The Tech Sensor is used to send signals to structures like doors. It's similar to the pressure plate, just a tech version. The biggest difference is that you can customize it to detect specific things compared to the pressure plate where it just detects motion hitting it. Now my favorite and the last tech item is the Tech Hover Skiff. If you played ARK before on ASE, you should know exactly what this is. It's basically a small spaceship which is going to be your best friend. It's used to fly around the map at rapid speeds as well as hover in mid-air, pick up dinos and players with its beam, and you are able to build on it. The skiff is by far the best tech item in my opinion. Genesis is already a pretty difficult map, and it gets even harder with many different unique weather systems. These weather systems make aberrations earthquakes seem kind of like nothing. Snowstorms and avalanches can be found in the Arctic, but the snowstorms are really just on one side of this region, while the avalanches spawn out of nowhere and will take you down with them. There really is no escaping them, you just have to wait until you're at the bottom. You also have cold waves which appear randomly and will make your character die a lot faster than usual. Over in the volcano region you have earthquakes, which serve as a warning sign leading up to the other weather systems, which are eruptions. These eruptions send giant meteors flying all around the area, which can instantly kill you if you get hit by one. You also have heat waves in this area similar to the ones on Scorched Earth. Over in the lunar we have the main lunar sun, which is always there. When you get hit by this sun, it will cause your screen to get a weird effect, which will eventually start to kill you over time. You also have meteor showers which happen randomly. If you get hit by any of these meteors, you will die instantly, so be on the lookout or get somewhere safe like a cave. Over in the bog we have green rain, also known as toxic rain. If you get hit by this, it will destroy your armor as well as deplete your health slowly, so just a heads up, just wear a gas mask. Then in the ocean region you have the whirlpools to deal with, which are giant water tornadoes that will kinda just suck you in. Once you get sucked in, there's actually no way out. You have to just wait until it despawns or it kills you. So yeah, the weather on Genesis 1 is really not for the faint of heart. This map seriously challenges you. Genesis is one of those maps where farming good blueprints and items is a bit tricky. Even back on ASC, it wasn't the easiest thing to do. However, there are a few different ways that you can do it. The first and easiest method is just doing missions. Missions will not only grant you hexagons, but will also give you random loot, including items and sometimes good blueprints. These are a lot more common when doing alpha missions, so I only recommend those for the highest chance, but there are better ways, like tiered crates. Those hexagons you get from missions can be spent on these tiered crates like I talked about earlier, which is another way to get blueprints and items, but it still is kind of random, and getting enough points to constantly farm it just isn't really reliable unless you spend hours saving them. The most effective way that I have found for farming blueprints and loot is by fishing. Genesis has two main areas to fish for consistent loot, being the lunar and the Arctic. The Arctic has ice fishing holes in some of the ice lakes, which come from one of the missions that you have to do. Those ice holes have a major amount of fish and are constantly respawning, meaning that you can just keep farming them. All you have to do is place a chair and then you can just farm them over and over. The second location, or technically many locations, is in the lunar in all of these caves with the ponds. Those ponds have a lot of fish in them, meaning that you can do the same thing and just set up a chair. Other than those methods, there really isn't any other good ways to farm blueprints or items. However, getting a good fishing rod isn't the easiest thing either, as no missions or anything will naturally give you one, so you will need a way to obtain one. First, you'll need to get a Bacillo over in the ocean, and once you do, go kill one of the Alpha Tusos. They are fairly rare but aren't impossible to find. Once found, if you kill it, you'll have a 50-50 chance of actually getting one of those high quality fishing rods, but then you're going to need honey. Honey isn't the easiest to find as well on Genesis, but if you go over to the bog and go to this location, you can find one here. Then when you mix the honey with a very good fishing rod, you can consistently farm hundreds of blueprints in no time. It's not the easiest map, I'll say that, but fishing on Genesis for some reason feels easier than on other standard maps. Genesis is all about element, but doesn't entirely tell you how to obtain it easily. It gives you hints but never fully explains it. There are three good ways to farm this. The first is these lunar rocks over in the lunar region. They are very easy to spot and are literally in every single corner. These rocks will give you stone as well as ambergris, which is a bit frustrating since ambergris doesn't stack on official settings, meaning that it will fill up your inventory quickly. Also, in the lunar you have tons of tech dinos. Tech dinos give metal, electronics, oil, and element dust, so you can easily keep killing them and then use a chainsaw or other tools to harvest the element. It's a fairly easy way to get element, but it's also annoying since you have to deal with the lunar gravity. The last easy way to get element is by farming these red crystals in the volcano. The volcano doesn't have as many rocks compared to the lunar area, but it does have more density. One good location to farm a good amount of them is inside of the Magmasaur cave in the main volcano. You can find lots of it in here, however it is difficult to get since you have to deal with the Magmasaurs as well as lava, but you can use a Magmasaur to farm them, so that also helps. Motor is still here on ASA, and the systems appear to all be the exact same. Motor can be found by tracking the main missions for her through the Missions tab. She is a decently difficult fight, and I recommend bringing a lot of extra tames that you are okay with losing, whether you're doing it solo or just with a few players. I won't be spoiling anything here, but it is a fun fight to do with some annoying systems, but that is ARK after all. The final fight for Genesis is the Master Controller. To reach this stage, you will need to complete every mission on either Gamma, Beta, or Alpha difficulty. Once they are all completed, you can then take on the Master Controller. Do you have what it takes to put an end to the chaos on this map, or will he be your downfall?